The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is closing out the Hillsboro Charity Tractor Pull with the unlimited Superstock and Super Modified tractor classes. Series regulars for the Unlimited Supers will have their hands full tonight with local signups on a couple of Mike Cheesick tractors who have typically been dominant when appearing on the track. While the E3 Super Modifieds enter the home stretch of their season with former multi-time champ Bill Leishner leading the bunch by 20 points. The engines are tuned up, the drivers are ready, and the final showdown in Hillsboro starts now. Welcome to Hillsboro, Wisconsin. This is the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League, and you're watching the Super Clean Hillsboro Charity Tractor Pull presented by General Tire. Ken Stout and Leslie Mears here to call the action for you. The grandstands are packed, and two very exciting categories coming your way, courtesy of the Unlimited Superstockers and, of course, the Modified Tractors a little bit later in the show.
It's been exciting to watch the Unlimited Superstock category unfold here so far this season. They've reached the midway point, and so we've got some clearly established lines as far as who is going to contend for that championship. But here this weekend at Hillsboro, kind of all bets are off as we see Terry Blackburn come in here with the extremely armed and dangerous as the first hook of the class.
He's made 4 hooks this year, and he's won all 4 of them, including 1 round to go here at Hillsboro. He is not playing, man. That V8 is wicked. 320 and 52 will be the mark for the rest of the class to chase.
I think he's good with that. I don't think he's going to be turning that one down. Slowly building up that boost on the starting line before giving all the power to those 30.5-inch tires and letting them load up. And look how long he waits. He doesn't even go to the brakes. He just keeps watching that sideline over there. Doesn't want to tap him because he knows he's got to leg out his distance out here.
Not often you can hear those rear tires roar, but he definitely was playing a song with that effort for sure. Terry Blackburn, extremely armed, as we just saw, kicking off the category. As you take a look at the pulling order here, and it's loaded with the best of the best.
Yeah, former champ Jeff Hodum right in the middle of that lineup. And here's another former champ, Bud Gettinger, driving the Lessons Learned machine as they took the championship a couple years ago. And I had a chance to catch up with him earlier today about his plan of attack for tonight.
2-day hooks are always hard because in the Unlimited Superstock class, you guys are running so hard just to get up there to stay up in points. So, Bud, what kind of issues did you find when you went to look at the tractor last night?
Right, you are right about pushing the engine so hard. Just the cylinder pressures and the boost pressures were running. Just try to stay ahead of one another. We ran in a little bit of bottom end issue last night and had some bearing stuff in the filter, so that took most of the night on switching some bearings out and seeing if we can get her all more or less patched back together and get a good pass out here at Hillsboro today.
So when you say patched back together, what are some of the things that you're worried might happen since you maybe weren't at home and didn't get to go the full maintenance that you wanted to?
Well, when you're at a 2-day event like this, time's a factor, so you only got so much time on your side, so you do the best you can at the event just so you don't drop down in points and so you can still make hopefully a competitive pass. And then when we get back to the shop, either Sunday or Monday, we'll probably get back to the drawing board and try to get something worked up before Hamburg and see if we can alleviate the problem.
So as you could hear, he was talking about knocking the bearings out of the bottom of that thing, either main bearings or rod bearings. So all they can really do is drop the pan, take a look at that, find the problem, try to clean that crankshaft up best they can, and then put some new bearings in it, and hopefully it'll survive this effort here. And survive it does. A great effort here doing what they need to do to get through the hook. 3:07 and 29. Not near what we saw out of Blackburn, but still a solid number.
Right away calling for the tow tractor, though. Lots of smoke there at the top end. A good start for the team, though, and you can see he's not happy with it leaning to the left side, using those tires at first and then having to get on the brakes, which just turns it wicked. And, that open rear end can be so touchy when you start to tap on those brakes, as it slows one tire down and the other's going to grow a little bit and grab hold and try to bring them back around. It can really kind of upset the apple cart and send them teetering back and forth.
And as you can see there, the lessons learned machine is currently second in national points, just 15 points back. So it was very important for that team to survive this hook here today and do as good as they can if they have a shot at chasing Hodem down before this one is over with. This is a 9th stop of 13 hooks on the season, so they don't have a whole lot of time. There's enough time to catch him, but you can't give a hook up here because you have engine damage, if at all possible.
Josh Blackburn at the line now in Armed and Dangerous International Threat.
On another tractor that's been on the podium nearly every time they've shown up, every time except for once, and now, as it stands, takes over the lead at 3:23 and 41.
Yeah, 4 hooks, 3 second-place finishes, and a 5th in there as well. And he's really working that throttle off the starting line to make sure he can get it hooked up. And that's the whole thing. If you've got all this horsepower in the world, but you can't get it hooked up to the track, it's completely useless out here. And you've got to get those 30.5-inch tires squatting down and digging in and applying all your horsepower. And he did a great job of waiting in order to get it hooked up.
So the 2 big V8s kicking the category off with a bang for sure. And Lyle Hull now with the MMG 1000 coming out here to try and play ball. Currently 5th in the points.
Great wheel stand.
In the Minneapolis Moline, just a great looking old school tractor. Puts 306.05 on the board, good enough for 4th place as it stands now.
It sounded a little bit more rumbly than it should off the starting line, like it just didn't clean up and clear out to get running as hard as you would want it to, but he's got nice lift on the front end, 7 weights out there on the front, so good placement for him. Just maybe needed a little more out there today.
These things make so much horsepower, and pretty cool to hear these engines at full song, and you can hear when those tires get gripped up, it'll change the RPMs quickly. As you take a look at the reigning champ, Jeff Hodem has had a couple of incredible seasons, and so far this year has been on the podium 5 of 8 hooks. And if you were wondering what it should look like, well, that's exactly what it should look like. However, take a look at the distance. 3:09 and 36 is more than 10 feet short of the 2 Blackburn tractors. That is unbelievable.
It's rather a slow, methodical pull than what we saw from the Blackburn tractors, where they really kind of shot out to the end, and it's about getting that ground speed up and moving that sled very, very quickly.
The full pull mark has been set at 320, and of course we have 2 tractors past that as you take a look at the top 3. We still have plenty to go. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by General Tire, anywhere is possible. By K&N Filters, superior airflow, superior performance. And by E3 Spark Plugs, born to burn.
Some fans having a good time here at the Super Clean Hillsboro Charity Tractor Pull presented by General Tire. Yeah, the smokers are out here as well. This is a 2-track show. And currently we are watching the Unlimited Superstockers. Chris Turley coming up here next on the Run and Bear machine. And of course, Chris not typically the driver on this one. Usually it's Jeff Hurt, who's won a couple of championships.
Ooh, he's close to that line.
He was way over there by that line, and wow, man, I mean, he had some good ground speed. I thought the number would be much larger, 303 and 70, and I can't help but wonder, as easy as he made that look, if he couldn't have used a different gear to maybe even have some more ground speed.
Either that or he had to get in the brake really hard to bring it back around, as we can see it here. Oh! I think that Santa came early there for the Run and Bear team.
Yeah, take the 303 and get out of here.
And of course, we know Chris Turley, the engine man there for the Hertz, and so nobody better when you need a replacement than your engine guy.
Well, Ron Bargy Sr., always a tough player out here, and Leslie had a chance to speak with them as they've struggled with some mechanicals this year.
Ron Bargy Sr. is always tinkering on Dad's toy, and sometimes you're tinkering on it when you don't want to be tinkering on it either. And your run at Evansville seemed to cause some problems for you. What happened after your run at Evansville?
Oh, we went to the next pull was Tiffin, Ohio State pull, and we had made a nice run, but when we towed it back to the trailer, it was making this clicking noise, and I thought, surely, as nice as that ringing pinion is in there, it's not bad. Well, it wasn't. The left planetary housing, we pulled it off, a bunch of shavings come out of that, which luckily we found. So that had issues. We got that fixed. Then we fixed the spider gears deal. And then I didn't like what was going on with the transmission, so I worked on it. So
These things are a labor of love, as all motorsports. I mean, if you don't love this thing from top to bottom, you'll never hang in here with these guys, because they are not afraid to roll their sleeves up. Right hand down. I mean, he was digging for all he was worth, but he's going to lay up a little short at 293 and 23.
And, that's where we see this weight distribution being key for this category. These guys only weigh 8,000 pounds and don't really have a lot of movable weight. And that little bit of a choppy start out there, that makes a huge difference. And you can see those tires actually grow and then kind of sink back into the ground as they flatten back out and give it that nice wide footprint. And that makes a huge difference, because you're unloading that horsepower, you're not pouring it into the ground. The sled just keeps coming at you and getting heavier out there, and you just can't make up the ground.
Next up will be the Taking Care of Business tractor, driven by Aaron Hall. And Aaron comes in here third in the points. Would love to leapfrog the Lessons Learned tractor. Jeff Hodem, as we talked about before, came out here, put 309 on the board, which is what he needed to do in terms of taking care of his points. And when it comes to points, Aaron Hall doing a good job here, 310 and 56, so he'll get past both Jeff Hodem, our points leader, and also the Lessons Learned machine at 307 and 29. He won't surpass him in points, but he'll beat him here today and close that points gap up.
Yeah, and just a nice, solid, smooth run here for him. Does get a little sideways, brings it back around with the brake, but exactly, Ken, doing what he needs to do to try to make up ground and kind of just inch back up there point by point with some huge hooks coming up for these guys.
Well, we're not finished yet. We still have another tractor yet to go, and if Craig Peterson does a good job, he'll join the Blackburns and the pull-off. Welcome back to the Super Clean Hillsboro Charity Tractor Pull, presented by General Tire. Ken Stout and Leslie Mears calling the action for you. We will have a pull-off inside of this category. The question is, will it be 2 tractors or 3, as Craig Peterson's going to have a shot at this on the tractor called Out of Time. The mark set at 320 feet, currently 4th in the points. And how about that? He is not going to make the pull-off, but for the first time in the 2017 season, Craig Peterson will get onto the podium.
Just a great run for him, especially because he's one of the few guys in the class so far that's been able to keep it fairly straight out there on his hook. It starts to lean a little bit to the right, and then he brings it back around, and that was the straightest hook that we've seen all night. So when you can do that, you can leg out your distance even farther. You're pouring all your horsepower into the ground to pull that heavy sled.
Yeah, he puts a distance of 3:15 and 66 up on the board, and the extremely armed tractor will not come back out here and bump the sled. So it looks like it's going to be the International Threat tractor who's going to come out and bump it. Keep in mind, those are team tractors. We also heard a little bit earlier in the show about how tough it is on these tractors, especially on a 2-day hook. So they're so expensive, so involved. If you've got teammates here, why push it? So they'll shut these things down, and the win will go to Josh Blackburn as he does an incredibly good job. Terry Blackburn right behind him in second. And let's go down to the podium and talk to Craig Peterson. It's his first of the season.
Craig, we saw you were spitting some fuel out there mid-track. What's your mentality as a driver as how you're going to handle that?
Well, you just keep mashing on the throttle and hope it keeps going. By that time, there's no other choice.
So you weren't thinking about backing out at all?
Oh, no, not at all. No, I still had the front end up, and it only dropped 400 or 500 RPM. And then it just hung right in there.
Well, the best part is it was good enough tonight to put you on the podium for your best finish of the year so far.
That's fun. It really is. We've been working pretty hard. Aaron's been working on the tractor every week, and it just keeps getting better every week. So.
Great effort there out of the Blackburn team, of course, and congrats to Greg Peterson on his best effort of the season. Aaron Hull there in fourth, Jeff Hodem, the reigning champion points leader, down there in fifth. So the battle continues on here in 2017. Let's go back down to the podium, talk to second place, Mr. Terry Blackburn.
Being the first hook of the night is always hard, Terry, but you made it look so easy out there tonight with that sweet pass. What did you see early on as the track was coming together to help you out with that run?
Well, when you're first hook, a lot of times you really got an advantage because the track's smooth. There's no ruts in it, especially when we're first out of the box tonight. So most of the time it's really good. So you just put it in the center and hope for the best. And it felt good. It was a good track.
With that smooth pass, I know I joked with you about kind of handing it over to Josh and kind of sharing the wealth, though. But with you guys being so successful, I know you put in a lot of hours at the shop, and that really transfers out here on the track.
Sure. He went by me the first time, and he had a little better run than I did. It was close. So I decided, I won last night. I don't need to hog it. And we need to, the end of the season's coming up here. We've got a couple more weeks of really a lot of pulling to do. So we didn't want to wear the tractors out. We'd love to put on a show, run them again. But the second run, everything's hot on them. And it's a lot harder to run that second time than it is the first time. So that's why I decided Josh bumped the sled, take the win, and I'd take second tonight.
So that perfect string of wins every time he shows up does come to an end with a pitiful second, if you will. He's had an incredible season when he shows up. Congrats to Josh. Here's a look at the points. Jeff Hodem still up top, followed by Neil Gedinger and Aaron Hall. Let's go down and talk to our winner.
Just another stellar night here for Josh Blackburn. You end up taking the win there by bumping the sled in the pull-off. Know you guys are trying to kind of conserve engines out there and not really kind of wear anything out.
Absolutely. We have some really big pulls up ahead of us, and we wouldn't have a lot of time to do any maintenance if we decided to pull off. There was a lot left, but I just don't think it's worth it. If somebody else would have made it up there, we definitely would have pulled off.
So how did you get to decide who was going to get to bump here? I mean, did you get the token win tonight from your dad?
Well, I think we just looked at it. I got him by 3 foot in the initial round, so I think he just let me have it. He's been doing a lot of winning.
Great stuff for sure. Okay, we are far from done. The multi-engine machines are putting some heat inside of them. Yeah, the mods are up next. Welcome back to the Super Clean Hillsboro Charity Tractor Pull presented by General Tire. The unlimited Superstocks are done for the evening. Up next will be the E3 Spark Plug Super Modified Tractors We've had 7 different winners in the first 10 hooks, an incredibly competitive category, and literally every single person in the division has been on the podium at one time or another. Good stuff as you watch the Geico machine rolling back here. Let's take you back a little bit earlier in the season and show you one of Joe Ader's wins.
Evansville is such a tricky track, and for him to pick up the win here was huge for him. It was his first one of the season. He came oh so close at Freeport and Fairfield, both podiums there, but that's kind of trying to progress forward. That was the exact midpoint of the season, and so he's trying to get a leg up. It really didn't help him out that much, though, because he faltered at Altamont and one night ago here at Hillsboro.
The reigning champ, here we go. And he'll burn in those huge rear tires at 311 and 82, way over there by the left side boundary mark.
It'll be interesting to see how these guys compensate for that. They know that that left side of the track will pull them in, and to see if they're using air pressure, if they're going to use position on the starting line, if they're just going to go out there and try to use their brakes. It will be interesting to see because everyone will have to combat that issue, and that's where this fair, even track will come into play for them throughout the course of the night.
And you can see Joe's tractor make a right-hand turn there about midway through. Would be an indicator that he did get into the brakes just a little bit as we take a look at our pulling order here for round number 11 of 14.
You know, just so many strong contenders in the category. You know, 11, this is as deep as the field has been in a long time with this many players night in, night out.
Yeah, only 4 hooks left, including this one on the season. If you get any weather along the way, it can really cut this season short. You've got to make some hay while you can here. And coming up next will be Ricky Long. Currently 7th in the points, still looking for his first win of the season. Finished 2nd one night ago here at Hillsboro, but will not take over the lead here, 3:04 and 96.
Yeah, that win has been elusive for him this year. A trio of seconds on the season, and it's just like they can't get the program together this year. You know, they're really hot and cold, inconsistent, and that's usually something that we don't see out of the long pulling team. Keith mentioned to me early in the season that, you know, when you're running with these guys, you have to run them so hard that they've had more mechanical breakage this year than they've ever had in any season.
Here's a look at the points. As you can see, Bill Leishner, the 4-time champ, looking to make it 5. He is back for sure. What a great season he's having. He needs to close it out, though, with only 20 points ahead of a former champion as well, the down and dirty Michael Stewart behind the wheel. It will be no give me. Then the Boyds there, 3rd and 4th. Wayne Sullivan, another champion inside of this category to round out the top 5. And speaking of Michael Stewart and the down and dirty tractor, he's backing up to the sled now. Leslie had a chance to speak to the winner of just one round to go earlier today.
When Michael Stewart makes it to the podium, it always comes at a cost. So, Michael, you made it on the podium last night. What'd you break this time?
Well, we broke a roller pulley off, and that sheared 6 3/8 bolts out. We got them. We went to Slamas, and we got some bolts, and we're ready to go again.
Well, I know your dad, the first thing he does is he calls Ken Vini, and you talk about what happened on your run, and you celebrate the win, and then you get back to business. What do you think is the cause of this blower pulley issue?
Well, we're thinking it's the bolts. We put new bolts in this time, and before we get to the next pull, we're going to just go on and change the bolts, put new ones in it, try to keep them on there.
Yeah, that's not the first time they've actually had that issue. It's the 2nd or 3rd, and so just really trying to combat something simple, but that blower pulley ever so important out there as it helps create all that horsepower.
Yeah, of course, the next question would be, well, if it's the bolts you're having issues with, or other people having issues with the same thing? Well, clear to say that the bolts stayed in. The blowers continued to do their job as they stuffed massive amounts of air inside of that engine to make some big-time horsepower. And we have a brand new leader at 3:20 and 85.
I like to watch those butterflies slowly open up. That's when you know that they're full throttle on the track. And you can see that big jolt he got when the box on the sled topped off on him over there. Just gave him a little bit of a push inside that roll cage. And he just kept on rolling steam out there.
Of course, looking for the sweep here. That would also earn him one of those beautiful belt buckles as well. So we'll find out if, in fact, Michael Stewart can get that accomplished. Of course, a very tough category of champions he'll have to survive as we take a look at our next competitor, and Stan Shelton. And it looked like he might have had to get out of the throttle just a little bit early, way over there by the chalk line. Distance 290 and 88, and he just has not had the season he was hoping for. On the podium, though, one round ago.
Well, we talked to Stan, one day ago here at Hillsboro about the fact that he had to repair his chassis. And so I think for him, too, it's a little bit of a learning curve and figuring the old girl out again. After having those repairs, it's going to flex different in different spots. And so he's just got to relearn that. And the only way you're going to do that is by putting in laps on the track.
Stan Shelton feeling the frustration. That man knows what it takes to win a championship, and he won't quit until he can do it again. There's a look at your top three. They're all chasing the down and dirty machine.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance. By Spray 9, a triple threat, cleans, degreases, disinfects. And by Optima Batteries, the ultimate power source.
Steve Bunnage coming up here next on the Takes a Lickin' tractor at the Super Clean Hillsboro Charity Tractor Pull, presented by General Tire. And just one incredibly tough tractor after another. This field is as deep as it has ever been in the history of truck and tractor pulling. It's incredible to watch these guys come out here and apply all this massive horsepower. And Bunnage with a massive run right here, 330 and 92, 10 feet on the rest of the category.
And man, he knows it. Did you see how fast he unsnapped those belts out there? He was excited. And for these guys, they've had a lot of tough luck throughout the course of the season. Especially their hometown pull, Fairfield, Illinois, finished at the bottom of the pack out there, and then just trying to pick up the pieces and put it back together. Best finish of the season, a second in Evansville, which again is a tough track, but back-to-back nines coming in here to this hook. And so gotta feel good to go out there and take the lead.
And we are being told that they've set a full pull mark at 320 feet, so we will have a pull-off for sure as we take a look at the Boyds coming up here, or one of the Boyds, I should say, coming up here. This would be Steve Boyd, just missing that championship one season ago. Wow, what a crazy ride there. 4 engines out on the front of that thing, digging as hard as they know how. The front end up and down a number of times, all but out of control. The seasoned veteran behind the wheel never lifted.
And you can see that we've got some cool conditions out here. Frosty injector hats out there, so lots of good air to create horsepower. And nobody makes horsepower like Steve Boyd. The thing is, with these tractors, they only weigh 7,800 pounds, so you don't have very much movable weight. Maybe you've got 100 to maybe 200 pounds at most, so he really can't control, that front end weight with that little tiny bit of movable weight out there.
So the mark for Steve Boyd, 295 and 92, a lot of fun to watch, but did not yield good results as we take a look at another former champ inside of this category, Wayne Sullivan. And Sullivan comes out here, puts 308 and 87 up on the board.
And, I kind of like his line of thinking here, going back to the center of the track. He's trying to stay away from getting pulled over into the out-of-bounds territory, because that often happens here on this track, and so starts in the middle, has to really get on the brake hard at the beginning of his run, and that's really going to slow him down at the top end.
Good enough to put him inside of the top 5 as of now. Of course, some great tractors still yet to go inside of this category, and one of them coming up right now. This is Greg Boyd, and of course, Greg and his father, Steve, both multi-time champs in the Pro Stock category, but Leslie had a chance to speak with Greg earlier as they both compete now in the Super Mods.
There are so many points of data that you can collect from a super modified tractor and so many different variables that go into the setup. Greg Boyd, is it possible to overthink it?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. We started out the season pretty strong, and then we get to worrying about sometimes trying to read the tracks and tuning the engines to the tracks, and maybe overthinking our gear ratios. We made some changes that's not done us well, but at the same time, when you don't give them very much time, you jump the gun and switch back. So hopefully tonight we're set up back where we were, closer at the beginning of the season, and maybe we'll get down the track further.
So when you do start to overthink it, you're saying you're going to go back to your original game plan. So coming in here this weekend, is it kind of like, this is the way I want to set up my tractor? I don't care what else goes on out there. This is what I'm going to do. Yeah,
we had high hopes for coming up here this weekend. We didn't do so well last night. The track wasn't the normal Hillsboro track. It didn't take near the front end weight it normally does. So, we didn't adjust very well to that compared to some of these more experienced guys. But hopefully tonight the track will be a little better, or else we'll guess it a little bit better.
And for this team, they don't have a lot of data for the E3 Spark Plug Super Modified tracks here at Hillsboro. They've got plenty of Pro Stock tractor data, but not a lot for the mods, and I think that really makes a difference.
Well, they certainly have not been bad as they roll in here 3rd and 4th in the points combined between he and his father. They've won 4 out of the 10 that we've competed at. And not quite as erratic as we saw Dad's tractor, but the front end still way up and down. But look at the distance there. He is certainly a player tonight. He's going to make the pull-off. That's all that really matters for him. 3:20 and 34.
I mean, how good does the Boyd team feel right now after making those changes and seeing the success of going back to that setup and trying to get that baseline back and putting it in the pull-off? Just a huge effort for them and their tune-up and kind of getting their confidence back on the machine.
Great stuff for sure in a very tough and expensive category. We'll take a quick break. There's a look at your top 3 that have all made the pull-off. But we are far from done. Ah, yes, horsepower's in the air. The fans having a great time here at the Super Clean Hillsboro Charity Tractor Pull presented by General Tire. Cooling off just a little bit, making room for even more horsepower as we take a look at the Judge Next Generation. And this is Brad Bargy doing the driving. And they hang in there with this combination. Of course, the drivability just not quite as good as the automotive-style engines. It's full throttle or nothing here with this style tractor, and maybe giving up just a little bit of horsepower as well. But it's always fun to watch the turbine-powered machine.
And the Bargy team will tell you that the maintenance on these turbines is very, very easy, especially compared to the automotive-style engines out there. This team is in the midst of transition out here. They've made a lot of changes over the winter, especially to the intake on the turbines, and so they're really trying to figure that out and see how it is going to yield dividends for them.
And the cool part was you could see the smiles on their faces. Every time they come out here, they still have a great time. Dylan Bunnage coming up here. Young Dylan behind the wheel of the Keeps On Tickin' machine. Currently 6th in the points. Oh, man, and he grenades something in the driveline there. It took him a moment, too, to get off the throttle. Zings the motors, big time. You've got to think that caused some damage as well. What a crazy ride for Dylan Bunnage.
Off to a great start, though. Listen to those engines sing as he's digging in. Rolling through there so hard. And then listen to how long they go upstairs. I mean, I know Wayne is not smiling down there on the starting line, as you can see him making rounds out there to kind of once over everything from the outside to see if he can find where the mechanical damage is.
Well, a young driver, and he's trying to find his groove, and he was busy. That thing is going fast. It makes a lot of power way over there by the out-of-boundary line, so it was definitely a moment that he'll remember. Leslie spoke with our points leader earlier today.
Bill Leichner comes into this weekend in a pretty good position. And Bill, your results don't show any kind of problems that you've had on the track, but that's not the case. What kind of mechanical issues have you guys been fighting this year?
We've been having ring and pinion problems. We're spinning the pinion off, and we're having trouble finding an OEM ring and pinion, so we've been running some aftermarket. It's just spinning the metal off the pinion shaft, and after the pull at Goshen, the fuel pump locked up on the left rear motor and it spun the hoses around, and so we had to go home and fix all that stuff and stay up all night, and then made it down to Evansville. And there's just little things at the rear end. We've had that out 5 times, and that's a pretty big job. So we haven't had a lot of breakage, and it happened when it didn't really hurt our performance, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, fortunately for him, when he started at Evansville, so did the Stewarts with a down and dirty machine. They actually finished a little bit worse, so they kind of dodged a bullet there, if you will. Podium 6 of 7 hooks here in the middle of the season, and 5 of those consecutively. Goes 3:06 and 29 here. Nowhere near where he needs to be to make the pull-off.
Not especially since we see the Stewarts in the pull-off, taking a little bit different line, staying a little bit closer to the center of the track. Doesn't look like he has to get into the brakes, but that cross-track travel there with those Grouser bars digging in hard, definitely going to detract from his distance.
Yeah, depending on how things shake out here, as you can see, the top 3 are going to all be in the pull-off. Bill Leichner down there in 6th, so he could have 5 tractors between himself and Stewart, who's currently 2nd in the points. We'll sort it all out when we come back. It's time for the pull-off.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by Sawblade.com. No middleman, no markup, no problem. By Polaris. Fuel your freedom. And by Lucas Oil. Made in America, sold to the world.
The big dogs are out here playing at the Super Clean Hillsboro Charity Tractor Pull, presented by General Tire. Officials also doing a great job keeping these guys in line as we are ready now for the pull-off. First one out is going to be the down and dirty, driven by Michael Stewart. You had to get out past the 320-foot mark if you were going to make the show here tonight, and that's exactly what he did. And boy, this second hook is really tough on these tractors for sure. 3:06 and 75 will be the mark to beat, but I don't know if that's going to be good enough to get the job done here tonight.
A good solid effort for the team, but man, you can tell that those engines have been put through their paces already tonight. Tons of blow-by, and you can see it just kind of puking fluid out of those blow-by tubes at the very, very end. That second pass is so very hard as you see him quickly reach up there and shut off those engines as fast as he can at the end of his run.
Coming up next will be Steve Bunnage on the tractor called Takes a Lickin'. Not to be confused with the Dylan Bunnage tractor of Keeps on Tickin'. Yes, all the same family. Having some fun with the names there. Point Bunnage just lays on the throttle, man, makes those things work hard, takes over the lead. 3:13 and 54 is what you've got to beat if you want to win here tonight.
Man, just so awesome here this weekend. He put 10 feet and 7 inches on the other guys here in the first round of pulling. And right now, looking so good with this pass, able to keep it a little bit straight. It doesn't wander off until the very end. And you can see him watching that leader cone, just legging it out and sticking in that throttle, burning those tires in to make sure that he can make the farthest distance that he can, because he knows he's got a huge bullet coming up next here in Greg Boyd.
Yeah, Greg Boyd coming out here, and his biggest fan right now, believe it or not, is Bill Leischner, our points leader. He wants another tractor to get in front of Michael Stewart to limit this points deficit here tonight. And Greg will get past Michael Stewart, however, does not get past Steve Bunnage. So your winner is Takes a Lickin', driven by Steve Bunnage. Greg Boyd doing a great job at 3:09 and 38 as we watch this one more time. Squeezes down on that throttle, right hand down, and here we go. Front end up in the air, and a small move right at the very end could have cost him 3 or 4 feet right there. That might have been the difference of first and second place, but nonetheless, the way it works out, Boyd will settle in for second place. Steve Bunnage doing an incredible job here tonight. Congratulations to him. We'll get it down to the podium to talk to him. His first win of the year.
Talk about a team that needed a shot in the arm, Steve. This had to be a big one for you tonight.
Oh, it is, man. We started out bad, tearing up motors ever since Louisville, and I had the downs and couldn't monkey on my back, couldn't do nothing. And we ended up getting second at Evansville that never had done better than A. So this is really a go-getter here, man. It's really put us back up, pumping up good.
Well, and it's also your first win with the tractor as husband and wife standing in the winner's circle.
Oh, yeah. We got married in March. Man, it was awesome. Tractor kind of messed up after Louisville, and I said, everybody, I don't know if she likes it or not, but you know what? I think she's coming around now. I want to thank E3 Spark Plug, man. They've been with me for so long. DeKalb and Engler Machine, Ken Vinny. I mean, it's awesome. My team, Bob and Jerry and some other people, mom and dad, but we worked today. We changed enough stuff. We didn't know it was going to end upside down or not, but you know what? I think we did the right decision.
I think you did as well. Here's what they look like before the pull-off, and then, of course, after the pull-off, your final results. Congrats to Steve Bunnage. Always brings a smile to your face. He could not be any happier up there on top of the podium. As I said, first one for 2017. Congrats. All right, let's go back down to the podium and talk to Greg Boyd, who finished in second.
Well, Greg, when we talked earlier, you said that maybe you had a little too much weight out front last night, but that's not the case tonight. Talk a little bit about your weight distribution on the tractor.
Well, the tracks were totally different. Last night really threw us for a loop. Generally, we come up here, and this is a really good, tough power track, and for whatever reason, it was really hard last night, and it just didn't take any front end weight, so we couldn't move enough weight back. So tonight, by knowing that that happened last night, why we kind of really screwed my dad's tractor up and didn't have any weight up on the front end, and he wheelie barred, and it really hurt him. So we run a lot more weight up on the front tonight. The first pass, I moved more up for the pull-off and should have moved some more. So it's a good power track tonight.
Well, it's awesome, though, to kind of come back. I know that you've been fighting some issues in that slump, and it's always good to get that podium and kind of give you some new life.
Yeah, it helps. That gets us energized maybe for the next one, so we'll see what happens.
And here's a look at the points after 11 of 14 rounds. Bill Leischner now with a 14-point lead over Michael Stewart in the Down and Dirty Machine. Greg and Steve Boyd, along with Wayne Sullivan, inside of the top 5. Let's go down and talk to Michael Stewart. Great job here tonight.
Well, you never know what to expect with the Stewart crew, and Michael said, it's just business as usual out here. And I asked you, Michael, if you put the sled in a different spot than everybody else, and you'll just leave that up to your dad every weekend?
That's not my job. That's Dad's job to put the sled where he wants it at, and we're supposed to get it to the other end of the track.
So then you just have to get in there and drive. You don't get to make tune-up decisions or anything like that?
Well, we work together on the tune-up, but the putting the sled, I don't know where it is. All I know is, okay, it's right here.
How worried were you coming back in the pull-off about everything being hot and maybe having some mechanical failures there in the pull-off?
We didn't want to because we're on a budget, but we had to put it out there to see what we could do.
Well, congratulations on your finish tonight.
Thank you very much.
Never miss a pull. Go to propulling.com/set reminder to add all of the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League airings to your personal calendar. Receive a calendar reminder minutes before each event airs.
Hope you enjoyed all the great action courtesy of the Unlimited Superstockers and the E3 Spark Plug Super Modified Tractors. It's been a great show up here at Hillsboro. For more, you can always go to propulling.com to keep up with all the action. For Leslie Mears, I'm Ken Stout. Thanks for watching the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League.